Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And review today I'm going to review a movie called Nyanyian Lembayung. You It tells after all this time, Sutira finally conveyed her intentions to Atika, her best friend, to work as a babysitter in the city. To be precise, at the house of Prameswita adoptive family. Prameswita is the daughter of Sutira, who 26 years ago entrusted her to a rich and kind family through Atika. Hearing Sutira's intentions to become a babysitter there or even prevented her because she was worried that Sutira would ruin the family's happiness. But Sutira's determination was made up and still decided to go there. Next, when she arrived at the gate of Prameswita family's luxurious house, she suddenly thought of Darta. It was a man she loved who asked her to marry, but her father did not give permission and told Sutira to focus on her education. I don't know where the devil's whispers came from. Sutira and Datta got married secretly. After the marriage took place, Sutira realized that Datta did not work and had no responsibilities. On. After several years of marriage, a baby girl was born. But on that day, Darta disappeared somewhere and left a divorce certificate and a necklace with a blue eye pendant, or what it's called blue amethyst. Sutira felt devastated and unable to take good care of the child. So she asked her best friends to entrust the child to those who were able to care for her, namely Mr. Herman's family. Meanwhile, she keeps the necklace left by Darta with her. After taking several exams to become a babysitter in the big house, Sutira escaped. How happy she is to be able. Huh? Belum. Ke dapur. How happy she is to be able to see her child grow up to be a beautiful woman and even now has a daughter who is beautiful too. Seruni is the name. The child will be raised by Sutira. A month has passed. Sutira has become a babysitter for Seruni, who is none other than her own grandchild. However, none of the people in the house know this fact. Sutira already could not hold back her sadness when she heard Prameswita tell her that she was abandoned by her parents. Sutira wanted to say that she was her real mother, but she couldn't. Finally, she decided to leave the house and return to her hometown in Limbang Sari. Before she left, she attached Datta's necklace to Seruni. After a long journey by bus, Sutira finally arrived at her house. She was warmly welcomed by Uning of her adopted daughter from the orphanage, and Ma'unah, the very loyal gift of an old maid. Uning also has a necklace with blue amethyst leontine which makes Sutira surprised. Even Uning says that the stone is called blue amethyst, which is the name given by her deceased father. This makes Sutira wonder even more. Yo, after hearing Uning's stories, Sutira decided to ask Aminah, the owner of the orphanage where she adopted Uning, and it was suspected that Uning's father was named Darta, the husband who had left her suddenly. Mrs. Aminah also said that Darta had died from an accident while working. Sutira's feelings are getting more and more uncertain, but she doesn't tell Mrs. Aminah the truth. Sometime after hearing about the origin of Uning from Mrs. Aminah, Sutira gets sick and had to be treated at the city hospital. Whether fate or coincidence, at the hospital, Uning meets Suni, a little girl carried by her babysitter. They talk for a long time. Suni's babysitter said that Suni's mother had an accident which caused her to go blind and had to be operated on. However, Uning is actually interested in the necklace used by Suni because it is exactly the same as hers. After walking around the hospital and chatting with Suni and her babysitter, Uning returned. Hey, Uning returned to his mother's room. She told her mother that she met a child who wore a necklace that had the same pendant as hers. She also told her mother what the daughter's name was and why she was in the hospital. Sutira also felt overwhelmed by hearing Uning's stories about the child's mother, who was none other than Prameswita, her biological child. The next day, when no one accompanied Sutira at the hospital, she went to see the nurse and told her that if she died, she wanted her corneas to be donated to Prameswita, who was studying in the VIP room. The next morning, Uning was amazed why his mother hadn't woken up yet. Finally, Uning tried to wake up her mother, but how shocked she was to find out that her mother was not breathing. After several days of Mrs. Sudira, the doctor promised Vita had undergone surgery and was finally able to see again. Promised Vita asked whose doctor had donated the corneas to her, and when the doctor explained everything, Promise Vita was like being struck by lightning and struggling with thousands of questions in her head, which unfortunately she could not ask Mrs. Sutira directly because she was gone. Over time, Uning has successfully entered the campus of her dreams. She also sells snacks and cakes. She makes and bakes on campus. Imperceptibly, she will soon be graduating. One day, Uning was asked to come to Mrs. Aminah. house because her mother's friend, Mrs. Atika, will explain a number of things, including about data and blue kecubung. Still lost in confusion, suddenly a woman named Winati and a child named Dartini, who claimed to be Datta's wife and child, they came to ask Uning for an inheritance, even though the treasure was Sutira inheritance and did not belong to Datta at all. After a long explanation, Winati decided to go and leave Dartini at the orphanage. Mrs. Amina. Dartini also wears a blue amethyst embroidered necklace like Uni and Seruni. They are really the children of one father to a different mother. A few months after Uni's graduation, Mrs. Atika took her to the city to meet the promised Vita family. Until they were until there they were greeted with joy. Until there they were greeted with joy. Then promised Vita explained everything, including that she was Sutira's biological child. She already knew about it because Mrs. Atika explained it everything to her. They also cried emotionally that day. After finishing with all the facts about Mrs. Sutira, they gathered together. Uning also told Sumi that their blue amethyst necklace was also owned by a girl in Limbang Sari, namely Dartini. They also agreed to name the necklace Seruni Amethyst. Time flies so fast. Now Uning has success. Time flies so fast. Now Uning has successfully managed Mrs. Sutira fields and gardens. She also continues the business of selling cakes on campus. That afternoon, the Prameswita family came to the village. Prameswita invited Uni, Sumi, and Datini to see the view of the rice field. Then she said, "The violet here is very beautiful, and listen to it like a beautiful singing voice." Uni was stunned. This was the first time someone else heard a violet song besides Mrs. Sutira. I also heard one very melodious, exclaimed Suni. Now Uni is even more convinced. Maybe those who can hear the lavender singing here must be a drop of blood. Mrs. Sutira, however, whatever the circumstances, Uning is still grateful for what God destined in her life. Now, the end. That's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.